Hello, I did my research on the relation and use of slang between generations in the RGV specifically. Okay, so why did I choose this topic? I chose this topic because slang has always interested me. I myself use slang almost every day. I use it to a certain extent and wondered how often it was used by multiple generations. I had heard of different generations use different slang terms, yet I wondered whether or not they continued to use slang as they got older, as well as which generation stuck to using slang more commonly. So I questioned it if they would always use slang when they're older, or if they just did it on random occasions, like out of nowhere. So yeah. So explain your hypothesis. What did you expect to find? So to be honest, I expected for Generation Z to be the generation that would use the most slang compared to other generations. From what I have seen in my experience, the higher educated individual from an older generation tends to use less slang. Although this research only went into educated individuals, so I expected there to be more slang from Gen Z. I have I've seen like my grandparents, for example, they use some slang. Well, my grandpa does. He uses slang, but he didn't have that high of an education. Yet I've heard him use slang every now and then. But it's hard to say that I've heard a highly educated person that's his age use slang. But unfortunately, I didn't really go into those that were uneducated. That's for another time. So the terminology in this research, um, so slang would be one of them. There are phrases that are made up. I like to think of them that majority of them are not a part of the dictionary. So for my generation, Generation Z, we've come up with bussin', that's lit, that's fire, in Spanish too, as in no quema, vato, just pretty much words that a lot of people use, a lot of Generation Z people use, and they're not really in the dictionary. Another term would be monolingual, which only speaks one language. Bilingual only speaks two languages. It doesn't matter what two languages they are, but as long as they're two. Trilingual only speaks three languages, and there's like it just the list keeps going. But uh, I don't really know people here in the RGV that speak four languages. So as for Generation X, Y, and Z, that's the gaps between groups of people. This is what the study was based on. Pretty much the separation in the generations. Why did you choose your particular methodology? I chose to do a survey because it is very easily accessible by all the people I want. All I would need is their email, and they would be able to do the survey whenever they would like. It was fast, efficient, and effective. It was basically a way of giving them an interview, and the survey website that I used showed me all the answers from every individual. It showed me everything I wanted to see, as well as put the information into graphs. So overall, survey was very easy. Um, if I wanted an individual to do it, I just send it to their email. They reply whenever they want, so I don't have to stand around waiting for them or have to set up a scheduled meeting to do it properly. It was very quick and precise, at least with the people that I sent it to. They responded very quickly, said it was convenient. Okay, moving on. A discussion of results. So I went based off of a couple background questions. So for the first one was what is your gender? As you can see, majority or more than half were male, and the other half were female, and the other portion were female. As education status, 50% went to college, 12% went to high school, and 37% graduated college. So they were past college, but they had a degree. What year were you born in, and what generation does it make you? So as you can see, a good majority of it was Generation Z. There were no boomers. There was 25% of them were Generation X and 12% were millennials. Are you monolingual, bilingual? If you're bilingual, what languages can you speak? So about two people, I would say, were monolingual, and the rest were bilingual, which they spoke English and Spanish. It wasn't that surprised. Uh, those are the two common languages in the RGV. So more to the results. This following question applies mainly to bilingual, trilingual people. Does being able to understand different languages affect how much slang you hear? Uh, a big majority of them said yes. I am exposed to much more slang because I understand more than one language. So they hear more slang in English and Spanish put together. About one person said, no, I hardly hear any slang in the second language. So this would be that they learned Spanish around like once they were older, and well, according to them, it they hardly hear any Spanish slang used. And one of them said it does not apply. I'm assuming that would be one of the monolinguals. Does social media have an effect on how much slang you hear? And no. 50% said somewhat, as they get it from both social media and in person. 37.5% said no, I've learned all my slang without social media, and about 1% said yes, I learned most of my slang on social media. Would you say you use more slang now than you did when you were younger, or do you think you will use more slang when you get older? This one was actually a little more complex, but I saw it myself on the results. It showed that Generation Z, a big majority of them, was I use more slang now than I did when I was younger. I would use more slang when I was younger. I was actually, oh yes, the older generation responded to that one. That was a big majority from them, from Generation X and Y. They responded to I would use more slang when I was younger. So I believe as they get older, the slang just deteriorates. I believe I will use more slang when I am older. That one caught me by surprise. I will use less slang when I am older. I wasn't that surprised about that one. Do you think location affects how much slang you hear or use? 50% said yes, I hear most slang in high school. So some of the people that took the survey, they actually teach high school. And well, I would say that that counts as it. So I believe that high school is a very big peak where people use the most slang. Nobody said yes, I hear the most slang in college. 25% said yes, I hear the most slang in public. I was a little surprised, but not that much. No, it has no effect. I hear the same slang. I feel like that one surprised me the most because it really depends on the parents and what they teach the kids and how strict they are on how much slang they use. Sorry. And as for the last one, if you would like, I added this as to see if anyone added more information or if they wanted to voice their opinion a little more. The first comment was actually by a Gen Z themselves. They put Gen Z is definitely the generation that uses the most slang. I wasn't surprised. I actually agree with them. We do use the most slang, hence that was my hypothesis. And as an educator, I can confidently say that Gen Z is full of individuals that use slang a little too much. I can also say that they use slang more than I would when I was their age. So yeah, I hear a lot of slang whenever I'm in the halls of school. I'm a high school teacher. The Generation Z definitely uses an unnecessary amount of slang. So yeah, all the older generations, well, both of these actually are saying that Generation Z is a highly use of slang. So I guess Gen Z is the one that uses the most slang compared to the rest of the generations.